and welcome to this episode of Kennedy Saves the World. We continue with Kennedy's Book Club, and this is one of the finest books you'll read for the entire season. You should order it now because it's perfect for spooky season, Thanksgiving, Christmas, Hanukkah, and Festivus. This is Kat Timpf's latest book, I Used to Like You Until, How Binary Thinking Divides Us. Thank goodness Kat and I are united once again in the Kennedy Saves the World podcast studio. Kat, welcome back to the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
Not a day goes by that I don't talk about you. I talk about you every day.
Really?
There were so many negatives in that sentence that I wasn't quite sure where I was going.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. I think about you every day.
Thank you.
Yeah, I miss you.
You send me very comforting, kind, supportive texts.
I do, of
Yeah.
course.
And you always preface them with no homo.
Yeah, I gotta make sure people understand.
Are you a homo?
No.
A little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
I mean, but your book is great because within the first couple of paragraphs, a young woman comes up to you at a show. You had judged her thinking she didn't want to be at your stand-up show. And you're like, she's got neck tattoos and clearly a lesbian.
She's a lesbian.
And she came up to you and was like, have you dated women? And you're like, yeah,
I was
have.
like, yeah, but she also clearly knew that about me.
How do you think
but
she knew that?
I don't. Was it the boots I always wear? I have no idea how she knew because I had not talked about it publicly before ever. Everyone in my life knows about it.
But this is something that you and I and you and your other friends have discussed is when you would talk about this publicly because it's something that we've all
known because I have dated women.
Yeah.
So it's like sometimes it's come up like, what are you doing this weekend? You know, I mean, years ago I write about that girl that I was seeing for a while. I write about her in the first chapter. And it came down to
2016 New Year's Eve.
Yeah, exactly.
You kept her coat.
Yes, I did keep her coat for a while. Even when I would see, I was like, you can't have this back because it looked really good on me. But I didn't want everyone to make it such a thing and have it be like a bigger deal to the public than it is to me, which is that it's no bigger deal than the fact that I've dated men before. But these stories were ones that I wanted to tell. So I decided to just tell them. I didn't want to not tell the story just because it involved a woman and not a man. So that's kind of how I made the decision.
Is that your bag for this book? Do you think?
It might be. I don't know. Yeah. Because I guess people, they don't know. They haven't known. So.
But now, I mean, I think that's one of the best things about your writing is you really do reveal yourself. And a lot of times people like think they're revealing themselves, like Instagram, like hashtag no makeup, hashtag no filter.
Yeah, and it's like you're
and one of your
wearing
favorites,
makeup.
trust the process.
Yeah, it's like you're wearing makeup. I feel like if I'm not terrified for the book to come out, I'm not doing it right. Because
Yes.
I've been terrified for this to come out because I reveal a lot of things in the book. I also talk about the abusive relationship I was in, which you also remember very, very well because you were one of the people that helped me quite literally survive that.
And I called a New York police officer, a detective, to try and figure out how to get this person arrested who was abusing you.
Yes, and I opened up about that, and I think that there's a reason why I'm naked on the cover, and it's just not just because I look so good and this body. I do not have this body anymore.
I loved your Instagram post about the photo shoot. It's fantastic.
I don't have this body anymore because there's a baby in it, but I think naked, covered in hate mail. I think vulnerability in the face of overwhelming hatred is the way out of this mess.
When did the idea for that come to you?
It was an idea that was actually Greg's former assistant, had the idea of me laying on hate mail, and it was Cam's idea for me to be naked and covered in it. My husband. Yeah.
But that's like a perfect collaboration of, it's like Matt Ridley would say, those are ideas having sex.
Yes.
Like one person has an idea, another person perfects it, and then you executed it.
I had no idea what I was going to do, and I think it looks so good.
Yeah.
It looks really good, and I look really good.
No, but the book tackles so much. There's a really great chapter on mental health in there.
Yeah.
And I appreciated the Rob O'Neill story you told. And that's the other thing that I really like. Not only are you incredibly honest, you're not afraid to take a completely different look at a subject that people have decided.
Yes.
Like they have dug in on something and you're like, whether it's Carl Hart or Rob O'Neill, who got arrested for basically passing out drunk at a bar in Texas and supposedly called the security guard the N-word.
Yeah, he denies that. The security guard was also white.
Yeah.
I think also the security guard was just trying to help him back to his room. And he might have punched him or something like that. Not okay. Yeah. Totally not okay. And there was a lot of discussion about how not okay it was. But what nobody was discussing was kind of the idea that this is not that uncommon for people who go into combat to have substance abuse issues or various mental health issues. And people will say, support the troops. And it's really sweet to say that. It's to say support the troops, wear the little pin, the little hat, make the little post on your Instagram. But what does that really mean?
Yeah.
And I think that you can say, hey, this is not okay, but then also say, how might I be in this situation? Because him and his wife are friends of ours. And when I saw those headlines, I was worried about my friends. And I think that's
What
very
was the
human.
first thing you thought when you saw this?
Oh, I was like, oh no, like I thought about his wife, like, is she okay? Like, is she, and I also thought about just what the wars that I think people, and I write a lot about this as well, the wars that people who will never have to go fight them start, and then what they do to people. This is not zero sum to send people over there, and you come back. How are you supposed to shoot and be shot at and come back and be normal? A lot of times people aren't.
Just forget it.
Yeah, a lot of times people aren't. And, I thought about how anybody who had a friend in a situation like that would react that way, but everyone on the internet acts differently. Everyone on the internet's like, you have to just say, and of course, I'm not condoning anything he did, right? You don't have to condone it to say that this also this person might be going through something. And I think about how often that's the case with mental health stuff, not just veterans, where we've never talked more openly about the importance of mental health, but we've also never given less leeway to a person who makes a mistake or is going through a crisis.
That's a really good point, because, and you even point out, like, there's a new designation of OCD for people who worry they're going to be canceled.
Yes.
Like it is a phenomenon of mental illness combined with social media that is metastasized into this new version of OCD. But, it's like, I think about this, and on one hand, it's really good because you have Simone Biles and Michael Phelps, like these two Olympians who have achieved the extraordinary, but they have said, like, the road to success was a very difficult one because they were plagued with their own versions of mental illness. So then a lot of people talk about it. A lot of people talk about their mental health and their struggles. But as you point out, and there was an author of a study, there are a lot of people talking, but not a lot of people listening. And I think about my daughter's friend right after the pandemic was having a really, really difficult time. And her mom didn't want her to see a therapist because her mom felt that there was a stigma and a weakness in seeing a therapist. So, they were in a New York City public high school. And, of course, I suggested, well, go to your counselor and get an appointment with the therapist. The therapist was backed up for 2 years because there were so many kids who needed mental health help, and there weren't enough trained therapists in the schools offering that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that, a lot of the things people post on social media about mental health is like, I'm there for you if you struggle. But people don't understand, like, somebody, and I can speak for myself, and I write about how when I took Accutane and it made me really bad, really depressed, really bad. When someone's going through a mental health crisis,
you were on the floor of your bathroom saying, I'm going to die, and everyone's going to die.
And I was just so down on myself. I hated myself. And you know this because you've been kind enough to be there for me through various mental health crises that I've had, whether it was the abusive relationship or this time. When someone's going through a mental health crisis, you don't want to talk to that person, right? I was not an easy person to talk to. I was a nightmare of a person to talk to. And so I think, but a lot of people don't think about that. They'll just be like, oh, like that person's like toxic or whatever. And sometimes people are toxic, but I think that we need to have, there should be accountability for behavior, but that's different than accountability for someone's being.
Yeah.
You have to be able to say, what's the motivation for people to heal and get better if it's like the worst thing you've ever done defines you?
Yeah, I mean, but you bring up a really good point, which is you have to have boundaries, obviously. If someone is toxic, you have to have boundaries between your life and their decision and how the consequences affect you. But also we have to have more compassion. And I think that's the part we're not doing right.
Yeah, and also I write about Africa in the book, right? And how Africa was, when we went to, I don't know if you guys know this, but we went to Africa.
It is amazing, and it changed our lives.
Yes.
And I dream about it all the time.
Yes.
And that's real.
And it was, honestly, I mean, to see how small you are compared to the rest of the world and to see how insignificant you are can actually work wonders, I think, for your mental health. And there was actually studies I found that backed that up because you work in, especially working in media, you just feel like the American media and yourself and you is the center of the universe. And everything you see on Instagram will kind of tell you, like, has anyone told you how hot you look today? You're the best and you're perfect. And, I think reminders of how insignificant you are in the grand scheme of things can really work wonders for your mental health. It can make you, feel, get real with yourself, and also make it a lot less likely that you're going to feel like the authority to cancel someone else.
But how good did it feel having this giant alpha male lion stop and look at just you?
I know, it felt really good. The exchange
I mean,
of
that
energy.
really happened.
I
That was
know.
like, I was so scared to pick up my phone and
Yeah.
photograph that moment because he was so close to us.
Yeah.
He could have jumped in the safari Jeep and eaten us, but he stopped and he stared at just you
Just me
for a long time.
And it's crazy because it's like, oh, it's not actually up to me whether or not I survive this.
Yeah.
If he wanted to eat me, he could have.
I mean, but there were a lot of things you pointed out in Africa that make me laugh to this day. Number one was seeing that female leopard and
Oh, yeah.
asking, like, how does it feel to wake up in animal print every day?
Yeah. You must feel ridiculous. You must feel ridiculous wearing animal
And you
print every
came out
day.
to breakfast one day and you're like, I literally just saw a bird the color of a banana.
Yeah, it's crazy.
You're like,
It's so
the colors here are wild.
and it's going on right now.
Yeah.
Like it's going on all the time and we're just here.
Yeah. And I'll never forget how sad you were, how truly sad you were because you wanted to stay.
I did.
And learn how to be a safari guide.
I did.
And you were asking our safari guide, so does everyone ask you these questions, how to be a safari guide? He's like, I have to be honest, like, no one has
one
ever
does.
asked me these questions.
Well, I really want to
Because you're like, how long does it take?
Yeah.
What is the process like?
Yeah.
How long do you have to live in the bush by yourself
Yeah.
with no gun and no tools? And
I told Cam, I'm like, I kind of want to move to Africa. And he was like, well, I don't really want to do that, babe, but I'll follow you.
yeah, I remember that.
And that was because I really think I was so happy out there and just calm out
Do
there.
you think it prepared you for motherhood?
I don't know, because I was thinking a lot about that out there. I mean, I don't know if I'm prepared for motherhood. I'm just
here's
so far.
here's the secret that no one tells you. No one ever is.
Yeah.
I don't care who they are or how many videos they watched or how many younger siblings they have. I was the youngest, so I never took care of a younger sibling, which I think is a big help, but no one is ever ready.
I did, but
So
it was
you
a-
should take some comfort in that. Like that is sort of a universal that everyone is like, holy what am I going to do with the baby?
Yes. Like being pregnant was hard enough for me to grasp. Obviously, I told you immediately. I told Cam, my sister, and you, and that was the only people that knew for a long time.
I didn't tell nobody.
I know you did.
And not even my children.
I know you didn't.
Yeah, especially my older daughter, because she would tell everybody.
She'd be like, "This is piping hot. This is hot tea." But for a while it took me. I was like, because everybody, and it's very good that I think people are open about miscarriage and all that. But my whole Instagram algorithm was miscarriage content for a while,
Yeah.
and I was like, "Oh, when's my miscarriage happening?" I just assumed it was gonna happen, and then I assumed I was gonna find out something was so wrong that it wasn't viable, and I was gonna have to like terminate for medical reasons. All these other, I never considered that everything would just be okay. So it took until I was about 3.5 months. I was like, oh, this baby's gonna actually grow,
Cook.
and then like come out of me and live in my apartment. You know, like this.
And not even pay rent. Like
This
maybe ever.
baby is gonna live in my apartment with me
Yeah.
and need things from me.
I've got viable children, and I'm
Yeah.
still waiting for the income generation. Hasn't happened yet.
Yeah. But is it weird? And then they're gonna grow up and they're gonna tell me no.
Yeah.
They're gonna be like, no, and I'm gonna be like, excuse me, I couldn't smoke any cigarettes because of you.
Do you know what I gave up for you?
Cigs. I think I really want to smoke. I don't even smoke anymore. I don't smoke.
No, you quit vaping a long
I
time
quit vaping
ago.
a long time ago. I still use nicotine gum,
Yeah.
and not now,
Yeah.
but before I got pregnant, and I missed that a lot.
Yeah. What else do you miss?
Just stimulants of all kind.
Crispy boys?
I miss crispy, but yeah, I do like a nice, refreshing light beer on an empty stomach
Yeah.
is nice. I miss my medication. I miss my ADHD medication. Obviously, I miss nicotine.
Don't go anywhere. More Kennedy Saves the World right after this.
What do you crave?
Like
Pregnancy cravings. You cannot describe them to anybody else.
Oh.
Never keep yourself from indulging a pregnancy craving, which was one of the best pieces of advice a girlfriend of mine who was pregnant at the time gave me. She was pregnant with her second, so she'd already been to the rodeo.
Yeah.
And I was like, thank God. Like I would have gained 75 pounds trying to eat things before I got
Yeah.
to the baked beans and strawberry yogurt. But she was like, no, just eat it right away, whatever it is.
I put peanut butter on everything.
Yeah.
Like I love peanut butter. The amount of peanut butter that I eat is insane.
Yes.
And every day I eat probably 3 servings of peanut butter, which is a lot of peanut butter.
Yeah.
Every day.
No. I know.
And
But
I
it's
just,
like, you can't help how delicious it tastes.
I've also never been this into eating. Like I eat, right? But I eat all day.
Yeah.
Like I eat from the moment I'm awake till the moment I fall asleep.
Has the exhaustion passed?
It's better. It's not past. I'm still tired, but the first trimester, I mean, I texted you and I was like, am I supposed to be, I know that like it said, when you Google it, it says like exhaustion and tired. Am I supposed to be this tired? And you're like, oh yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like, I need to take a nap after I take a shower because the shower is too much. The shower is like as if I'd been partying all night.
But I think that the mental part of your job is even more exhausting. Like
Yeah.
it's already, people don't realize how much energy it takes to write and perform. It does. It takes a lot of
Yes.
energy. Is it as hard as neuroscience? No, it certainly is not. And it doesn't require as much education, but it does require a great concentration of energy. And when you use up that energy, then you're really tired. You have even less energy than you did before,
Yes.
but you still have to do the same amount of work and focus.
Yes, and then at the beginning you can't really tell anybody.
Yeah.
So one of the hardest weeks ever in my entire life, not my entire life, but actually maybe, was the RNC because I was so tired. I didn't feel good, and I couldn't tell anybody what was wrong.
And people were going, "Are you fat right now?"
Yeah. Oh yeah, people on the internet were like, "Are you pregnant? Are you just fat from middle age?"
God. People are such jerks.
And then this woman was like, called it. I'm like, no, I saw your very unhelpful comment.
God.
But good for you on called it. I saw your very unhelpful comment. Because it's just, you watch your body change and it's actually kind of wild. I mean, I knew it, right, what happened, but I started showing really early. I didn't expect to start showing as early as I did. And I feel like I'm going to be massive.
So that's how great big fat people never know that they're pregnant.
Yeah, probably.
Like I was thinking today, I knew a girl growing up who was such an avoider. She didn't tell her mom she was pregnant until she was in labor and just wore big sweatshirts and overalls.
Yeah.
And it's like, kind of a chubby girl. And it doesn't show as much on some people. But when you're a tiny person, I do think that it pops out sooner. And you also had your ostomy surgery.
Yeah, which I found out that previous abdominal surgeries can make you show sooner, which makes sense.
Yeah.
So that clearly I had two quite serious abdominal surgeries.
That was your January 6th.
Quite invasive. Yes, it was. Exactly. So yeah, that's probably why.
Have you ever been the recipient of more "I used to like you" until hatred before the Jason Aldean comments? Because I remember the Jimmy Kimmel
Oh yeah.
kid comment that I don't think was as bad as it felt.
Yes. So that comment was, so I read about that in my first book, but what happened was I made a joke about how hard it is so the segment was about Jimmy Kimmel taking off the summer to be with his family. But I remember in the article, he said, everyone in my family's fine. Everything's fine. So I was like, oh, okay. I didn't, but then off the cuff, I said something like, why do people, this was in 2020, I want to say, why do people with kids always get the excuse they can like take time off to be with their family? Like I have to like medicate a feral cat and they have claws, babies don't have claws. And I had to give my cat heart medicine right before I came here. And Greg was like, I want to remind you that, his son has a heart problem. I did not know that. Okay. I wanted to die.
Mm-hmm.
And then the show was live, so they couldn't cut anything out.
Yeah.
And I was
Wasn't that during the pandemic?
Yes, I was
Yeah.
crying in every commercial break and like hyperventilating. And then pulling it together for the 1 minute that I had to speak every time, and they just would kind of keep the camera off me as much as possible because I was having a full-scale meltdown.
Mm-hmm.
And then I went home, and actually, you came over, and I was like, this is so bad. I took a Xanax. I was having an actual panic attack. And everyone on the internet was actually really nice.
Yeah.
They were like, we could tell you didn't know. Like, don't worry about it. Everyone who watched the show was like, you shouldn't have even said it. Sorry. I apologized also immediately after this segment. I was like, I didn't know. I would never, ever in a million years, blah, 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 blah. Until the next day when I was ironically at the vet. Somebody posted a little clip of it and said that here I was making fun of his kid because the kid has a heart problem.
Oh,
and saying that
that's
it's
so dishonest.
and saying that it's harder to have a cat with a heart problem than a kid with a, which like and so everyone was so mad. His sister told me to kill myself.
Oh.
Yes.
Jimmy Kimmel's sister?
She said, off and die. Yeah.
Wow.
So, and if I had been saying,
a stable
but
woman.
if I had been saying the things that, if I had been saying like your kid has a heart problem, like if I had been up there saying that, I would deserve that.
Yeah.
But that's not what happened. And I still have that come up sometimes in my Instagram comments. Like, aren't you the one that shat on Jimmy Kimmel's kid for having a heart problem?
No.
It's like, no,
No,
I'm not.
And people, it's like, with TV, especially live TV, you say a lot of stuff because you have to fill time.
Yes.
And sometimes those things are inartful. Sometimes you're trying to make jokes, and sometimes the jokes are accidentally insensitive. But the Jason Aldean one, that was intentionally insensitive.
I wrote about this in my book, and I made a joke when the Try That in a Small Town was wall-to-wall news coverage. And it was just the two sides of everyone being like, this is a lynching song and he's a horrible monster. And then the other side was like, this is the best song ever. I love him. He rules. And it was just like, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, my job on Gutfeld, I try to provide something fresh and fun to say rather than what's been going on, all day on the news. So I just made a joke about it. And I said that he looks like every guy ever to sit at the bar at a Buffalo Wild Wings. And that's all. And people laughed, actually, the audience.
That's funny.
But he does.
Why would you be mad at that?
Oh my God. I had to stay off social media for a few days because people were so mad.
Why would you be mad at that?
They were mad.
You're not saying like, yeah, you're a racist, you Buffalo Wild Wings
wing eater. And I actually said before I made the joke, I said, it's really a shame that I can't just say I don't like this song. I think this song sucks because everything's now one or two sides. I don't know. I don't like new country music. It's a shame I can't just say. And then as it turned out, even though I was that explicit about it.
You say in the book, like, I like Merle Haggard.
I like Merle Haggard. I like the old stuff. But even though I was that explicit about it, people got so mad. People were like calling me all these names. They wanted me to be fired. They wanted to ban me from Texas.
I love that one lady said that you offended
90% of the country. And I'm like, and people were saying you're an elitist. I'm like, what? Do you understand that everybody, all these Congress people who are having their staffers pen these like glowing whatever, they're not. And also Jason Aldean he has like oceanfront property in Florida, right? I mean, it's like, guys, I'm at least honest about my metropolitan DoorDash ordering lifestyle, okay?
We went to Dave & Buster's for Mother's Day.
Yes, we did. Exactly. I mean, how do you think I know what people look like at a Buffalo Wild Wings? I wasn't slamming Buffalo Wild Wings.
No.
So, I mean, again, it was a joke about a country singer. And it became, I am a communist to people. And I think that's just...
Were you already writing the book when that happened? Or was that like the impetus for the book? Like, so this has gotten so out of hand.
I'd already been writing the book, and I believe when that happened. So I was like, oh, well, this is going to be a new chapter about how everything's so political now. It's like you have to... People are like, oh, if you like Taylor Swift, then you are liberal.
You're commie.
Yeah, it's like...
Oh, you want Kamala to be president?
Yeah, it's like, dude... And nobody can I don't like country music. I just don't like the new country music. It's not my thing. That doesn't mean this whole list of other things about me is true.
Yeah. No, and, I guess I'll tear up those Luke Bryan tickets I got you for your birthday.
I don't know what he looks like. Any white man could come, hit me in the face and say I'm Luke Bryan. I'd be like, Luke Bryan just hit me. Like, I have no idea.
It's a chapter in the book.
Yeah, right? Exactly.
When the paperback edition comes out,
yes.
Luke Bryan hit me in the face.
Anybody could do it.
I used to like him until...
Anybody could do it. And I mean, it's just, again, I think it's so sad. We don't win when this happens.
No.
Politicians win because when we are divided, we're easier to control. And we're losing out on a lot. And you're like me in the sense that you have so many friends with so many different beliefs and so many different backgrounds. I mean, every time you go to your 4th of July party, it's just like the amazing collection of people, right? And you probably can't imagine your life without a lot of those relationships. And I'm the same way. But it's really sad that people are closing themselves off to that.
Yeah, I agree completely. And I hope that people read this book. Your voice is... It's so necessary, but it's so fun and entertaining to read.
Thank you.
Like, I'm never amazed at your wisdom, but I'm so happy that people get to see it in a different way.
Thank you.
And you're so funny and honest, and there are jokes like the 5 tequila sodas when you and Cam went on your first date.
Yeah.
Like, I kissed him because, 5 tequila sodas.
Yeah, not because I was into him. It's because, like, it was fun because I had 5 tequila sodas, which is an insane move for a first date. That's an insane move for a first date to have 5 tequila sodas.
The insane thing is that it led to a second date, which is Providence.
And a marriage.
Yeah. Yes.
I don't mean, like... That's the other thing. And you can also read about this in this book. Everything they tell you not to do to find a husband, I did all of that and more. I did like new things that like people haven't even thought of. And I am in a very happy marriage and about to have a baby. Yes. So it's really, if it can happen to me, it can happen to anybody.
Amen. And you should read the book. I used to like you until ellipsis. Kat Timpf, goddess, creator, trusting the process. Thank you for coming back.
Oh, thank you for having me.
And someday we'll go back to Africa.
We need to, as soon as I give birth.
That's right. Well, maybe in Africa.
Yeah.
You know, Angelina did. She had a baby in Namibia.
That's true.
Let's make some calls.
Okay.
This has been Kennedy Saves the World along with Kat Timpf on Kennedy.
Listen ad-free with a Fox News Podcast Plus subscription on Apple Podcasts, and Amazon Prime members can listen to this show ad-free on the Amazon Music app. Oh, go ahead and leave me a review while you're there. I'd love to hear what you have to say. You've been listening to Kennedy Saves the World on the Fox News Podcast Network.